actually Wendy's work chair. It's ergonomic. She couldn't take it to Seattle.
So let's start because I have a lot of questions and we're actually already talking about it. So hey everybody, welcome back to the Primas Podcast. I am Cindy. Sup. And that's my beautiful Prima Jess.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Primas Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
We have a super special guest speaker today. Dun 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 dun. It's my little brother. So you guys may have heard the voice, the oh so sexy voice in season 1 and 2, but season 3 we're bringing him live because people requested it.
Martine, you wouldn't believe how many DMs we got requesting for people to say like, is your cousin single? What's up with him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not, unfortunately.
Like, he's gay. Yeah, he's gay. I said that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's unfortunate for a lot of them. I know. Well, thank you for having me again. This is a fun experience. This is surprised you guys are. What is this? The third season? Fourth season?
This was supposed to be our season finale, but like us, we miscalculated, and it's actually next week. So yeah, we're about to wrap up season 3.
I meant to say this. Like you always bring up stuff from the future, and it's like we're never certain. So I always leave it vague in case. I don't know that I'm messing up or I have something wrong, but I'm always like, it's just
this is a bit premature.
Because if we die tomorrow, it's our last episode. Jessica's like, nope, I have it here on my calendar, guys. So one more and that we're done. I'm like, I just did this in the background.
She said she has a planner that says Primas planner, but it's only for her schedule. It only fits her schedule. Like it says here, I got Melanie. Guys, I don't know. I'll put this together.
I know.
She uses that to trick me. She's like, do you not see me taking notes? And she shows me pen. And I'm like, okay, well, hey, you might be. I'm gonna calm down.
Every time you're talking and she's muted, she just picks up the daily planner, like adding it.
You guys are too much.
So, yay. Today we are talking about, we're giving our input on the beginning of the conversation of the metaverse, which is like a super huge thing right now. However, through my research, insert lab coat, insert chemistry beaker, and the goggles, Bunsen burner. Do you guys remember that?
Mm-hmm.
The old school.
I'm part of the new technology era, so everything's just on TikTok for me.
Yeah, that's true. But anyways, so we're super excited to talk about this. Through my research, I found that Mark Zuckerberg really is like trying to get ahead of the game because the metaverse is not even ready. So a lot of it's not going to be ready for a few years, but he's trying to push it, right? Like any marketing big corporation would. Mm-hmm. So that people can get invested as much as possible. But it's really new. And we have Martin. The reason why I wanted to bring Martin on is because he's a gamer. A lot of my brothers are. And a lot of my brothers, like I have 40.
I know.
Most.
You do have a lot. I have none.
People do say that there's a lot of us.
Because Robert isn't. So that's why I meant to say like, well, Abraham and Eloy and you play. So, but anyways. I don't have a connection. I've always just seen it like kind of like with Facebook. Like I don't go on to Facebook like that, but I obviously know what it's about. I get it. Same thing with video games. I don't know what they're about, but since they've always played, I've always, you kind of observe some stuff and then you hear other people talking about it and you're like, oh, my brothers do that. That's weird. You guys do it too. I thought it was just my brothers and they're friends.
Who knew? It's like a big world, right?
Yeah. So yes. Yeah, Martin, what is your preferred video games? Like give us your gamer background
and your gamer name.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna do all that, but as far as games go, I'm still kind of stuck to, I don't know if this is considered old school or anything like that, but I'm still doing the first person type shooting games. Like I don't necessarily play video games that are that second life, for me. Like I just like, to be honest, video games are boring. I only get on when my friends are on. So if they're on, that's when I get on. But if it's something that's quick, like just Call of Duty, Halo, something like that. I don't necessarily care about stories like that anymore. Like I just get bored myself personally after playing video games for so long. But I do see how it could be super addicting, and you could get lost in the world of this
Virtual.
is my exactly like I'd rather do this than to be living in my own life. I mean, we go through enough stress as it is in California. Gases are crazy high. You don't want to think about that. So you'd rather, get on what's that game? Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto is a game where you can literally build a character, have them look, dress, sound, whatever, the way you want him to, and go out in the world and like do stuff. You could get into cars, listen to music. You could listen to the radio in a video game. Like if you're driving a car in a video game nowadays, like, I mean, that's happened for a while now, but it's just crazy how advanced it's all gotten. Like it feels like you're in the car yourself.
Correct.
Like you get lost.
And then even like from our generation, like when we were kids, I used to play Super Nintendo, and that evolution from that to Halo, it just, I stopped at Super Nintendo, right? And that was a 2D like world, and that was easy for me. Like I mastered it, not a big deal. I just brag about it. But and then now I see what kids play nowadays, like Minecraft. And I feel like they are targeting a lot younger generation, because it's like, I've been hearing a lot of talk. It's like the 2010 babies and up are all going to live in this like virtual reality, not live in it, but you know what I mean? They're way more accustomed, and it's so advanced compared to like when we were kids. And that was what, like 20 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
So I just like the evolution. I think it just like, it took off so quick that me and Cindy were like, oh, well, we really don't care for it. But I think a lot like those 2000 kids, like even our daughters, are going to be more accustomed to like that virtual reality world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a game changer for sure.
When I started to hear the talk about metaverse, it reminded me straight of a gamer's world. Because Martin, even though you say that like you just log on, it's whatever, it's not, you're not like super intense into it, you still understand that escapism part, right? That you're like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather get onto this than to think about anything. So that's how it can be addicting. But not just addicting, right? Because there's a lot of gamers that they're not addicted. So, there's that negative stigma, but also I studied Grand Theft Auto when I was studying psychology, because we studied violent video games. And from the violent part is super violent, but Grand Theft Auto reminded me of, it's kind of like how it can look to be in the metaverse, right? Because Martin, can't you also create statuses for your players where you start to like, or maybe it's a different game, but like I remember people saying like, oh, I'm a Japanese 40-year-old businessman on,
Mm-hmm.
And you create, and I have this penthouse. And so tell us a little bit about that virtual reality.
Like that
that's
identity.
That's what I was getting at earlier with like the Grand Theft Auto thing. That's just crazy. It's you can literally live the life you want to live on these video games, because I mean, there's no way to monitor what you're doing. Like they're so violent. It's just so free. It's a free world, and you can do anything. You can get a car that can fly. You can't do that in real life, but if you can manually like, if you could get a car that, let's just say as an example, that could fly in the video game and you can move it, it does feel like you're driving it. You are the driver, even though it's through a video game and you're not physically there. You are the driver. You could do things you can't do in real life. So I can see how people would like to use this as an escape, as I was saying earlier. But there's also a few episodes on like shows. For example, I was telling Cindy earlier before we started, there's an episode on The Office where Dwight was like in kind of a depressed situation because he had broken up with his girlfriend or whatever, long story short. And so he created, within this episode, he created a character kind of like GTA status, but it was called Second Life. Literally, the name was called Second Life. Mm. And he just created a character, what do they call him? An avatar that looks exactly like he does in real life. Like he had the split in between his hair, he had the glasses, the mustard collared shirt. He says himself, like Second Life is, he said, I was having such a great time in my original life that I had to create another version of it called Second Life. And the only difference in this one is that I can fly. You know what I'm saying? Like you get to do things where you can create yourself in a video game, but add this element of I could fly, something I can't do in real life. Which, I mean, you can see how that's addicting. We always talk about who do you want, if you could pick a superhero, who would you want to be? You can create that character now. That's what's pretty crazy about how games are. And then there's games, it's even more, it gets even more tricky when you get, you know, like an Xbox and a PlayStation console, or you switch over to a PC computer. Like that's a whole different one, because you can hack into that and do literally whatever. You can play as Kobe Bryant in GTA as a giant or something like that. You can create that. So people really do get this second life thing, and take it, you know, to the max. You can buy clothing. You have to spend actual money to buy coins to buy stuff for the video game.
But I like his biggest selling point. Did you see the video of Mark Zuckerberg where he explains like the metaverse world? It was like a short minute clip.
He explains the metaverse world.
Yeah.
You know how he does that a lot?
So within that, I liked how it was enticing or like intriguing when he, you know, most gamers have to sit down, you know, and I like how he gave that illusion or painted it where it's like the physical world versus the virtual world, and he's combining it. So it's like, I've seen those virtual reality games, right, where people are like always falling or they make memes about them. Yeah. So I like how he's removing that and literally like combining both worlds, but like you don't need those goggles anymore, or you don't need those hand things to feel or to do things, you know. He's essentially like mastering, and I think he mentioned that towards the end of the video, like he mastered that physical touch. And so like you said, the helicopter feeling, that was a good example, because it's like, yeah, we don't know what it feels like, but this world that he's creating, we would know what it felt like, you know. We can actually feel it with our own hands. We don't need like those gloves or those hand devices.
Yeah, the controllers and stuff.
Controllers, like yeah. So I was just like, whoa.
Yeah. It's a sophisticated simulation.
Correct.
You won't really be feeling it. But like you said, for those younger generations, that'll be more their reality.
Correct. Yeah.
Because they're just it's the culture, right, that they're born into.
Can I also add what's cool about that, I guess, like the benefits to it? Because a lot of people, there's always a good and a bad to everything. Like it doesn't matter. There's always a good and bad. But I'm thinking now, because yeah, I play video games here and there, but I'm not a super technological guy or anything like that when it comes to technology and things like that. But the new generation that is getting thrown into this, like your guys' kids who are really going to be into this type of stuff. What's cool about it is it's not just for video games and things like that, where people would look at it as like, they're just playing on their devices. They don't care. It's like, you can actually learn how to safely do these things. Like, for all you know, the military, like Air Force One and things like that, they do use these virtual reality things to try to teach someone how to get into the mechanics of just piloting before you get on the real aircraft. You know what I'm saying? Like there are benefits to these things where like you can do the job before you get into the job. Like you can better prepare for these things. Whereas before it's, yeah, let's train them, but then let's just throw them into the wolves. You know what I'm saying? Now it's, let's train them. Let's have them get a visual, like let them feel what it's really going to be like.
Yeah.
So they can kind of better prepare to be involved in it. You know, it's rather than, like I said, just throwing them into the wolves. Like technology is advancing such, you know, there's a good and the bad to it, but I think there's obviously way more good to it, because if you really know how to capitalize on it and you really want to learn how to do these things, there's so much money in what technology is taking us to. You could literally be sitting down playing video games and record yourself. As long as you're entertaining, someone's going to want to see that. And they'll want to pay to see you keep doing it. You'll get sponsors. Like it's so easy with technology, how they're making these things happen. And then in virtual reality, it'll feel like they're actually there with you literally now. Because you could just like have those goggles and be like, oh, I'm right here with Drake in his concert, you know?
I think timing is so important and so trippy, right? Like I think timing is so crazy on everything. Like when I see it, right? When I see it unfold, like how did I'm gonna play a little like devil advocate right now, but like COVID, right? We never thought we would sit at home all day, every day for long periods of time, right? Before COVID, before March 2020, that was unthinkable. And now it's very plausible, right? It's very prevalent. We see most companies still are doing working from home, you know, and most people are cool with not having their coworkers or having that social aspect. And then on top of that, like he's throwing this in. And I thought that piece where he says like, we don't have to commute anymore. So like all these subliminal messages, like to environmentalists, you know, we're no longer going to be polluting the world or the planet that we live in. by commuting anymore, and we're saving money. And then like the world where he sat down at the office space and like you can see your office around your work office at home.
Mhm.
And I just liked how he was just painting these pictures of things that are currently happening. And like we kind of got conditioned to in a year, you know what I mean? And everyone said like, no one's going to last a year. Now we're going on 2 years in this COVID pandemic, you know? So I'm just always trying to think of like a bigger picture, you know, because I think Big Brother is like 10 steps ahead of us and we're barely like coming into it now. So it's just so trippy to me, like how it came out and when it did, because now people are like me. I'm even like, oh shit, I can have a view. Like we've talked about like that episode in Black Mirror where like there's always these screens in front of us, which is constant advertisement, but we can live in a world or just see outside what I want to see. You know, I can hear the ocean, I can smell the ocean breeze, but I'm still in Cypress Park, you know, in my little studio apartment.
Mhm.
And I think that's so trippy how he's like really bringing or combining those like that physical world with that virtual world without those like goggles or those like hand controls. I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to unravel.
Mhm.
Before we continue, let's not bring up COVID so much because Cindy's an anti-vaxxer. So for those of her that's a fan of hers, just little, let's be real. Let's
Just
be
a
real.
little
Disclaimer.
side note.
Just disclaimer.
Cindy says onion and potatoes mixed with water as a tea is her. That's her
That's
medicine.
the cure to everything.
Oh, and honey.
And honey and garlic. If we're gonna get potatoes, I never heard of, but I might throw that in.
I don't know. You're always into some weird
She
shit.
just rubs potato skins all over.
She just grinds it up with fish bones, and then she's like, "Oh well, this is how I eat my omegas."
And I put it in my eyeball. I'm like, you got to do
She's
it.
always weird. She's like a step away from drinking her own urine. She said, "There's a boxer that used to do it."
Okay. So earlier, Martin, you said there's a good and the bad to everything. So one thing that I found, like Jessica, you mentioned Black Mirror. So that's a great series on Netflix. You guys need to check it out. But it's super dark, right? It's the pessimistic side. It's the shadow side, if you will. We use that term a lot because there is no good or bad. It's kind of like, this is what it is.
Mhm.
And with this type of technology advancement, it's so soon to talk. There's, what can you say? We have no idea.
Correct.
This is just what
Our interpretation is.
Zuckerberg has been pointing at. A lot of people say that he's turning into like an avatar himself, and I'm like, yeah, that's all he, like he focuses so much on that. Like he's like, he doesn't know that's like, hey, you don't need that's not natural for you to talk like that. But anyways, so I wanted to say that because I think there's a lot of people on the fence right now. Some people are like super against it. And if you're someone who consumes Black Mirror and that's your perception, it doesn't mean that these things are not true, that these things can't happen. It just means as humans evolve, we're always presented with challenges. And I want to look at it in that way. I don't want to fight anything that ever comes out like, oh no, that's going to ruin the world. But you keep hearing that with this because it's super invasive and intrusive. I mean, right now, all of our information, when we're recording onto a screen, it no longer belongs to us. This is now data for corporations, for marketing, for studying human behavior, to see where trends are going to go. And that's already happening, right? And so this is going to be, as much as they want to say like, there's going to be a lot of privacy around this. Like if we were to talk to a hacker, they'd be like, no, it's the internet, or it's just the way that it's formed. And I don't know, I'm not a hacker. I'm not even like a person that's good with technology either. But what I'm hearing is, either it's like super bad and super invasive, which for me, it's like, that's already happening. Or the other part is learn and see how you can take advantage of the situation. Because what Martina is explaining about like wanting to fly in an alternate reality, like that's not when I'm trying to think of all of these different things, it's just, maybe it's my age and the culture, I don't know, but like, I don't care for that. Like that's not something that's going to interest me, but you can also make money on here. And so you don't even have, you know what I mean? Like there's just different ways to participate, it seems like. because I don't need to buy a condo and create an avatar. Like, I don't care about like that. Those are just that's not something that is going to move me. But these people, these big corporations spend tons of money and research on finding out what is going to also get those outliers invested. And so the other thing that I wanted to mention is that you can make money. It's called NFTs in the virtual setting. I hope I'm saying this correctly. But so Martin, you were saying earlier that a person in Grand Theft Auto can purchase like shoes or a house, a car. They'll be able to do that in this virtual world without using actual money. The form of currency on here would be NFTs, and Nike is already signed on where Nike's going to sell, I don't know, like virtual Air Jordans, you know, and then you can buy that through, like, let's say I make a painting, a drawing, whatever it is, or even a picture, and then I put it there. If that sells, I get a portion of it. And that person that sold it, you know what I mean? So it's just, I can't speak to that too much, but that's the part that interests me, because you can literally become a real estate agent through this world alone. Like, you can sell property on the metaverse. Yeah. So I think that's pretty crazy. Like, I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I mean, because it's happening so quickly. Like, technology is evolving so quickly, so it is hard to keep up. Because there's always some type of new, especially now with currency, like there's always some new way to spend money, how they want you to spend money, like Bitcoin and stuff like that. It's just a lot of these things aren't like federally funded or something like that yet. Like, so it's still a little risky. I don't know the full like details of how it goes yet. I'm still learning. Eloy's teaching me more and more about like the stocks and stuff like that. Like, the more I hear him talk about it, and I'm eventually gonna get in myself. But yeah, so just, I'm still a beginner at stuff like that. Like, there's not these new versions of how to spend money, but it is interesting how it's going, and it is hard to keep up sometimes because, like I was saying a second ago, technology is evolving so quickly that so is our way of spending money. Like, now a painting online that's an NFT thing. It's just like, it could cost thousands of dollars. It's just like, how did you just make that money? Whoever just sold this painting, you know, when there's,
we can't get it yet.
It's insane how all this shit's happening, and video games or not just video games, but like this whole virtual reality thing is just changing the game 100%, like so quickly. But there are like, I don't know, that because these things aren't like, they're not being regulated yet by the government, like these transactions and stuff, that's where it gets a little risky. That's where some of the bad could come in. It's just like, okay, you just spent thousands of dollars on that, but now that person who received that money can't, because they got it, let's say, off of like a cryptocurrency or something like that. Like, they can't, something could happen where they lose that money and there's no way of getting it back because it's not being regulated yet, you know, like it could just be lost somewhere in that Coinbase system. And if you don't have your login information to that, like, there's no way of getting it back or something.
But they're making it just like Mark Zuckerberg, everyone get on Facebook. They're gonna make it extremely accessible and secure. When I say secure, I mean, you know, just kind of like how we go to the bank. But are the banks, big banks especially, playing with our money 100%? So I think the cool thing to think about to prepare for this is also to understand the psychology of big business, big corporation. They are after our money, however shape or form that may look, whether that's through cryptocurrency, actual virtual or actual money, or all of whatever. They're going to find a way for it to be very accessible because they want us to spend it. So I think right now it's difficult because we don't understand, but
it's only a matter of time.
It's only a matter of time. And like Jess was saying, they're 10 steps ahead, right? Like big corps and big money. So all of these people are already investing, like cryptocurrency, that word even, or Bitcoin, or all of these things. It's like, what does that mean, right? That's because they're getting ready for things that are going to happen because our behavior will change, and they're influencing it extremely hard because it's around money and power. So I buy Nike, right? Like, I buy Nike stuff. And so that's a huge company. It does like super shady shit in different countries where they don't have labor laws. But that's just an example of how some people are going to buy into this at a very massive scale because they can make money in different ways. Even if you don't I don't know how to It's gonna be so interesting. But yeah, like this is a long-term thing. Like this is such a premature conversation, but it's still super exciting because it's in our time. And
but that's where go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, I agree. We're going to be the guinea pigs generation. Like, yeah, me and Cindy are not really as intrigued. We're just like seeing like on the fence, like, well, let's just see how this unfolds, you know? But our kids, this is going to be their normal, quote unquote. So that's why I am also like very curious to see how this unravels in 20 years, what that's going to look like.
But even then, 20 years is what let's just say hypothetically, 20 years back in like just up until like a few years ago, 20 years was hypothetically how long it would take to start some type of business, government type business or whatever. Now, because technology is advancing every day, like every minute, every hour, it's something new is popping up. That 20 years is probably going to look like in 5 years. Let's just be honest. Like, I know you guys are saying,
exactly.
Like, you guys are saying like we're single parents, like our kids are going to be the ones that are going to take advantage of it. But it's like, it really isn't. It could be you guys within 5 years, because you're in your 30s, you're going to get into your 40s, whatever. It doesn't matter. You can still, if you really put yourself into it and want to study this, you can catch up so quickly. It's just having to take the time to do it because it's so fast.
You're right. And that's what I mean. Like in 20 years, I could only imagine how fast it's going to take off. Like it's going to accelerate, because like, look how long it took from our Super Nintendo to like your gaming system now. I was just saying
that wasn't that long ago. Yeah,
exactly. So that wasn't. So now it's even moving faster. So in 20 years, you're right. I don't think we're going to see it unravel in 20 years. I'm just saying, I'm curious to see what 20 years looks like, because then by then our girls will be adults, you know, and then let's see what their normal is, you know.
Let's debate this. Let's make this debate. You say 20, I say 5. This is what the episode should be about. Let's get some controversy here. I'm just joking.
Okay, my controversial question is, I guess it's not too controversial, but
do Black Lives Matter? Wow.
Unpopular opinion? What's your unpopular opinion?
No, it's not unpopular. Okay, so FOMO, fear of missing out, is a very real thing, right? And social media has created that at a large scale again, where it's like super obvious. And Jess, I love that you're super open about like your participation with Disneyland. Just kidding. But like with everything, right? Like you're like, when we talked about it last time, I'm like, I like that she at least will be willing to go there, because a lot of people will just fake it to sound, you know, like appealing to others. So if most people are participating, like now, right? I'm very left out of the social media game. I'm still connected, of course, and I still want to be, just because as I continue to learn, like it's really cool to learn about these things, to learn what's going on, whether you're participating or not. I like to be in the know. And so my question to you guys is, if most of your friends and family, like on Facebook or other social media, is on this platform, that they're going to use that as leverage to be like, well, everyone's going to get on it. Who wants to be left out? How do you guys feel about that? Do you guys feel like you're going to jump on the wagon? Or do you mind feeling left out and kind of being like a spectator, like me, I guess?
I don't know. I used to have that fear of missing out when it comes to physical things. Like if there was a family event going on and I couldn't be there because I was somewhere else, like that's something that was like, oh man, I know it's going to be a good time. I wish I could have been there or something. Keeping up with technology, I think it's going to be one of those things where I'm going to keep up. You have to, like, I want to adapt. You don't have to do anything, but I want to adapt. I want to keep up, but I know my limitations also. Like there's certain things that I rather still be able to do physically rather than this whole virtual thing sometimes. Like I want to try to work out. I want my character to be the buff one. I want to be the one that's going out there and doing the action. So there's certain things that you could limit yourself from this world of technology where you'll have to do it physically yourself. I don't think there's anything wrong with those who rather be like, it's cool, I could do this here. Like, I don't want to go out. Like, that's fine. I don't judge those who want to do whatever they want to do. I think I'm all about it. I'm all about whatever makes people happy. I do want people to be healthy, but at the same time, whatever makes people happy, I'm all for it. So for me, there are things that I'm like, I don't think, like, I don't have an actual TikTok app, but I see a lot of the things are on TikTok. There's literally, it's not just entertainment. There's literally business on TikTok. Like you can sell products, you can create things, you can, you know, even not just TikTok, like Instagram and stuff, but like, for example, because TikTok is taken over so quickly, I don't feel I need to get on that, aside from the fact that a lot of what's on TikTok is now on Instagram. So it's just like, it still feels like I'm on it regardless. But I don't think I need some of these things because I'm gonna be like, at the end of the day, these things are unavoidable. You're just gonna see it anyways. So I was like, I'll just keep up when I see it like that. Like, it'll hit me when it hits me. I don't need to go out for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need to try to reach out and have someone convince me. I was like, I'll get to it. I don't need it right now, but I'll eventually get to that type of situation. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I hear you. And I would say I think I am gonna try it because he just explained it like a virtual world, and you keep saying going out, Martin, but it's like the possibility of not going out. So like, when Cindy's in Denver, that's a good example. Primo, we can make a room of our virtual studio, and you can be recording right here next to me. You know what I mean? And that's what he's making, like, we don't necessarily have to go outside of our house. We make these worlds within them, and our avatar like travels while we're at home. Mm-hmm. So I'm definitely curious, and I would definitely like to try it, but like everything else I do, if I try it, if I don't like it, then I don't like it, I don't think I let the influence of others, like the bandwagon, like jump on that, affect me. Maybe when I was a lot younger, definitely, but as I'm getting older, I'm like, no, I want to value my time and like the quality time around the people I care about, So imagine saving a flight. We don't have to fly anymore through that crazy Rocky Mountains where your plane's always like this, Prima, and I have like the worst anxiety, and you could just come visit me in my virtual world.
So that's what I think is controversial, because you could be okay with that level of connection. Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to be very telling of the millennials once in 5-10 years, whatever, because
20. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
50. And then we have already colonized Mars. So, because, a lot of people, so there's so much stuff. So Mark Zuckerberg is right now pioneering stuff. Do you think that all of these other huge monies are not like, how the hell can we jump on or even create our own situation? Because it's money, you got to compete. And so there's that part. The other part is I still want to build my own future in business, right? And I love something around wellness. If someone is not interested, or if the majority of people are not interested in getting out of their house, you know what I mean? I'm like, I have to think like, well, if someone is spending most of their time sitting, or even if they're standing, but they're not leaving their home, mm-hmm. or they don't need the type of energy that it requires that it used to regarding food. So all of those things are going to change as well. So I think it like, to me, meeting virtually, that's great, but that does never, for me, right, in my age and my generation, it's not going to compare to touching, looking, smell, mm-hmm. I mean, really being there. Mm-hmm. But it's going to be crazy because the younger generations, that's mostly what they're seeing. So I don't know. For me, yeah, go ahead.
My bad. I was going to say, that was part of what I was going to bring up as far as like what could be good for this, because there is a lot of kids who do have a lot of, especially now that society's allowing people to be more open with their like mental health issues and stuff. It ties into that. Some people are what's the word? I'm extrovert, right? Because I'm as social as they come. Like, I'll talk to anybody.
Correct.
There are these new generations, because I'm not going to put it all on technology, but because of a lot of the things you can reach out with, the advances of technology, being able to communicate with people and stuff like that. A lot of people that are afraid to go out just to be like, I don't like being in situations where I have to go to a restaurant and eat around a bunch of people. Like, some people do have that social anxiety. So I think that's one of the good things with this is it does help people with those types of fears, those fears that don't want to go out. Someone like myself, someone like my sister, I'm the same way. I want to go to Colorado and hug my sister and my mom and see my friends and stuff. Like, I want to physically be there. It's one thing to be there. Like, it'll be cool if I can't fly out and I could be there virtually. Like I said, I'll let it come to me when it comes to me, like when I need it and stuff like that. But there are more moments where I'd rather physically be. I'm not at all against those who are like, why should I go fly to you if I could just see you like this? Like, it's like we're right next to each other. It's like I'm having a smoke with you right now. And all I got to do is put on these goggles or these gloves or whatever, and it'll feel like we're present with each other. That's great. That's awesome. But I physically want to be there too. I want to give a handshake to my friends and to my partners and stuff like that. Like,
then that brings me to another point. Yeah. And then we're thinking like very close perimeters, right? But like, what if things like the Astro World event, What if we send our kids to like these music festivals or those, you know, we hear it all the time. The risk of dying in a car, whatever, you know? Like imagine now you don't have to leave your house, the safety of your house. You just enter those festivals through your avatar.
That'd be great.
Imagine
That'd
that.
be great. That'd be great for those people. I'm the type who's gonna drive to the festival because I'm a festival guy specifically. You know me, Jess. I love music festivals. It's so unfortunate what happened in Astroworld. If I could be there,
You're
though,
right,
I
but I'm
would've.
just saying, like,
I'm
I'm
still not
just,
gonna lie.
but that's life, you know, there's risk in everything. There's risk when we drive to work every day, when we commute. There's risk when I fly in an airplane. Yeah, it decreases, you know, in like certain environments, but we essentially have no control. So I feel like they're going to pitch this to things like that. Like, oh, do you really want to send your kids possibly, you know what I mean? Like, I just see it like in a larger scale. And yeah, like we're talking family, of course, we'd rather hang out with each other. But when it comes to like longevity, you know, and like the risk and safety, you know, of our loved ones and like reducing that risk factor, I think is an interesting like way I think they're going to approach it also.
I totally get that. And I get that as the approach. I just don't feel the need to, and I don't think it's like, I don't mean this as a super negative. I just mean, I don't see the need to shame another action though. Like, look, you can do this. Are you going to risk like death with this? Like, there's death in everything. You could be living alone at home. What if you slip and fall, bust your head? No one's there to help you then. The virtual reality is not going to help you with that. Or what if someone's living by themselves or just happens to be by themselves at the moment and, you know, they do get some type of medical issue, like they get a stroke or something in the middle of the house and they're waiting for someone to come over, but they can't, and they can't communicate. There's a lot. And
their robot would help them.
I think it's
our robots.
I guess, but I just think people put fear into a lot of things to try to sell another. And I don't think that's what needs to be done. Again, I already said, it's cool that people are going to have these advances of being like, well, I could just be home. I don't have to go through my anxiety to go out and, you know, risk something. It's like, I don't think stuff should be sold based on fear, because you're creating fear in someone. It's like, I do get that there's risk in everything, but I just don't think people should. I wish people wouldn't go into wanting to get a product or buy a product or get involved in something based on fear. It should be, you know what? I just don't want to happen to do this. This is an easier access at this moment. I can do this right now. But I don't know. I don't like people wanting to live in fear, but I'm also not about telling people how to live either. I just wish these products wouldn't sell so much based off of fear. So that's what everything is done now. Like you look at
correct.
If you look at social media, everything, all the news, the politics you get, they're only going to sell you the fear. They're not going to sell you like, look at this adorable thing. There are some advances to it. Some advantages to it. Some people will put a cute video of a dog or whatever. But some people might be like, yeah, but I also saw a video of that same looking dog attacking another person. It's like, well, you're basing it off of fear. Like that's everything in life is a risk. Like I don't think people should make decisions. I don't believe people should, but I'm not going to tell somebody how to live. Like I get why there is so much fear too.
Yeah.
I think fear is a huge selling point that is not going to go away.
Right.
It's definitely unethical, but when you're thinking about billionaires, as we've studied or began to study, like they're in the sociopathic, psychopathic, high functioning people. And so they're like, perfect. It's gonna, fear of missing out, fear of your kids gonna die, fear of death. We're putting fear on things that are very natural. And people are like, oh no, someone's dying. Like we get so, I can't wait for us to talk about death. Jessica pushed it back. She said, wait a minute, let's end on a happy
It's the holidays. Because it's the holidays. I was like, no one wants to talk about death when it's like the highest suicide rate month as it is because of how stressful the holidays are. Yeah.
And I told Jess, what about a positive twist? She's like, no, a positive twist. I'm like, what? That's what we're trying to
depending
present.
On your beliefs, Evan. Yeah. Come on.
But what I'm saying is fear is so good because we've become very fearful as well. And I think, like you said, Jess, it's a great selling point because people are going to just buy into it. We can already see it. It's happening now. People they fear missing out. They fear, what are other people going to think of me? And so that's a vulnerability that someone that doesn't care about ethics, they just care about money. They're like, no, we're going to exploit that fear. Yeah. So that's not going anywhere. Psychologically, why would it, right? It's unethical, It's fucked up, but that's the truth of money and power. It's going to bring up like, well, I want to control. I want this power. I want, and so that's unethical, right? To want. And that's part of the solution, is to find balance. And so that you don't get sucked into these big corporations with anything, don't get sucked into anything, find balance in everything. Use whatever new technology to your advantage. Use it as a tool. We use it for the Primas Podcast 100%. And we couldn't have done this without technology advancement. And we're very low level because we record on Zoom. It would be, we can get, camcorders and whatever, like all of that software is also becoming way more cheap and more accessible. But it's very telling, just the fact that we're able to do it with such low budget. I mean, the lowest, I think, of any podcast. I don't know, maybe there's lower, and so fear is a big one. And my thing is, we're already very sedentary. We sit a lot when we're driving, when we're at work. And so this is creating more sedentation. Is that a word? Mm-hmm. More non-movement. And I wonder how, I'm not looking at that in a bad way, because again, humans have always evolved when there were challenges, and that made us stronger. Was there death? Was there a bunch of shit that happens along the way? Always, that's the natural part of life. And once we accept death, we'll save that for season 4. But you know what I mean? Like we're going to adapt. Any species on this planet is going to adapt to those challenges. And so that's what I'm very curious about, is like, well, my whole belief is that you have to move in order to be happy and healthy and to age well. I don't know what that's going to look like in the future, because this is kind of telling you, you can stay in your sweatpants. He said it, stay in your sweatpants. You can stay in your home. You don't have, everything's just, it's going to change so much. Yeah. And so I'm super curious. And I think from a gamer's perspective, Martin, is you already have, as much as you want to say that you're like involved in gaming or not, you're way more involved in that technology than me and Jess are, because we're not gamers.
Yeah. Or even the language.
Even my nieces and nephew, like.
Or Minecraft, like, isn't that very similar? But it's like for kids where they build their own worlds.
Yeah, but it's the same concept.
Yeah.
So I never played it, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, I keep up because I'm obviously young and youthful, unlike you old ladies, but that's why I keep up with my video games. Whatever. I mean, this is all natural. So oily skin, all that. Anyways, all the natural oils all over me. But yeah, it's crazy how it's crazy.
Guys, he's available.
I'm not. But anyways.
So taken.
But it's crazy. I wish we could have brought somebody like my nephew Jojo, like, to something like this. I mean, he would have been.
No, we're gonna keep talking about this, because for sure they speak a different language.
Can you imagine Jojo on this show? I think he'd be shy. He'd be like, "Hi, Thea, Cindy. I play games."
I know how to talk to teens.
A zit would probably pop on the camera.
That sounds bad, but like, you just got to get to what they like. But yeah,
Cindy does hang out with around a lot of kids. It's weird, little kids. Like, you only have a daughter.
No, I said that because I used to teach high school students, and
she still hangs out with them. She's not even a teacher anymore. Still hangs out with them. It's kind of weird.
That's appropriate.
I don't know.
But what
I mean, technology lets you keep in touch with all these kids. I don't know. It's weird. Big brother.
That's why I became a gamer, to keep up with my
keep a close monitor,
so that when they turn 21. Just kidding. That's gross. Okay.
Cindy's baiting, dude. That's so gross.
No, I'm not. So what I'm saying though about like bringing on like younger people even is so Jojo, of course, but like also Nati plays, another one of my nieces plays Fortnite. And when she came over here to Colorado, she spent some time with us. She was talking to her sister back in California and her cousins back in California through the game. And they were playing or whatever. But I thought that was really cool. I was like, oh, I want my daughter to, so I want to buy her like that game, and like I want my niece to set it up for us. Shout out our younger nieces and nephews. But remaining open to their language is really good. So if Jojo or anybody were to come on here, is like, you need to approach them like you're learning from them. You can't be like, well, back in my day, what we always fucking hear, right? It's just like, that's not how I would do it. Like, of course, this is because you're not in their generation. Like, I just,
you should be able to embrace it more.
and interview them almost, like, what does this mean? And really like try to get it from that ways. I think a good way to talk to young people is approaching them as if they're teaching you something. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I
about
don't know.
Having a good relationship.
This new generation, if you question them a lot, they're going to get offended and think, why are you questioning me? Have you checked your life? They're going to get all like defensive.
No, you see, and that's the human part that
I'm
think.
joking.
No, but that doesn't exist. It doesn't exist with us, thank God. Like, but we can still lose that connection, right? With younger people, like as you age. And so you should approach any generation in that form, like, and listen to them unconditionally, knowing that they're going to say something that you don't agree with, that you don't believe, and being like, all right, I can see how, you came to that. There's a difference between disrespect. Like when someone's giving you disrespectful, like energy or feedback, anyone is going to be closed off to that. And that's how we talk to the generations. So anyway, that's a part of the solutions though, is to be open to, young people who are being born into this reality, and asking them like, what does it make you feel? Like, why, and then also showing them about balance with anything, you should never be addicted to anything, right? You should form healthy relationships with stuff. And so the best way to do that is to be as transparent as possible, I think, in my opinion.
Well, try asking me. I'm very young. I'm like the youngest person you guys know.
You're
so
like
let's try
5 years younger than us.
You're like borderline millennial Gen Z.
Yeah.
I'm like the youngest guy you guys know.
But your personality reminds me more of like a boomer type. So.
Yeah.
I play video games. So I think that's all I need
You
to
can
say.
be a little conservative sometimes, where you're like, whoa.
No, I'm all about it. I'm all about LGBTQ+. I'm all about it. You guys don't get it.
Okay,
This is my generation.
One thing, no, you're kind of older to them. It's okay. You can keep your youth in the metaverse. You don't ever have to age.
I live a hedonistic lifestyle, and I'm the youngest person you guys know. So
no, that's true. Okay, so what I wanted to say real quick. Okay, do you guys remember like the comic books or like Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, all of those, where
books,
comic books or movies,
magazines? Ew. Cindy, I'm watching porn as we're having this podcast right now on my phone.
Virtually.
And Avengers is on another little screen on my phone on the side.
Wait, did you see when I Venmo'd you? Did you see what I wrote?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was inappropriate and immature.
Say it.
Say it, Cindy. You're the one who did it.
I wrote Pornhub subscription.
And your thing is private, public, so everyone can see.
I think mine is private. I don't know about Martine.
Mine should be private too. I think mine is private.
Oh darn. So that really, never mind.
I'm constantly sending my family money because I'm like the main source of income. So I always have to hide it because then other people are gonna look at it and be like, oh, Martine clearly has balling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I am, but I don't. Yeah, I like to humble myself. I don't like people to know all the time. Like, you
so
like cut this up.
Back to the Wonder Woman. Did you guys see Wonder Woman? Like the newer ones?
The 1984 one, I think I saw.
I saw them both.
Oh, never mind. I did see both.
That's what it's called, Cindy. That is what it's called.
Oh.
God, I thought you meant how old she is?
Geez, Cindy, you're so...
What?
That's the name of the movie.
1980. Okay.
Yes,
it's called Wonder Woman 1984 because the setting takes place in 1984.
So I heard... Yeah, I saw the one that happened tonight. There is a version, whatever.
Cindy's still reading books.
You're wrong.
With pages.
I think I saw both. There's 2 movies, right? I think I did see them both.
I'm just trying to explain the premise of like, there's a superhero.
Cindy still gets black ink on her fingers from reading pages off of newspapers. Like, get out of here.
I get the old school comic books because that's just a better experience. No, but so there's always like, she's trying to save someone or whoever, Batman, whoever, they're trying to save someone from like big evil, which we can translate into like big corporations, power and control. And this can go that way, right? Where she's like the evil scientist or the evil tech scientist, I don't know, gamer developers, whatever, where we can see this turn into like something crazy negatively. But then also there's the other side that these movies present that I like, where it's like, or you can also influence that culture as well. That's what I'm trying to get to. Like, how can I sure, I may participate, but like I said, it doesn't entice me as much, some of the stuff. So they're gonna bring up other things in the next 5-10 years to get these other people. But yeah, I don't know why I brought that up. I just wanted to say.
Cindy wants to act like she's a part of the Marvel Disney world. Like, you're not, Cindy.
No, but right
Jesus
now,
Christ.
everybody in these movies, the whole society, all the world is like very like in zombie land, right? They're interested in something. Right now, to me, I see everybody very much on their phones, right? We're always, the Black Mirror concept is because when we turn off the screen, it's a Black Mirror. Like I saw that. I don't know if that's true or not, like if that's what they meant, but I was like, ooh, that's kind of interesting. So
Never really watched the show, but that makes sense.
Yeah, no, but you should watch it. I'm gonna watch it too. But anyways, what I wanted to say is even crime is gonna move into this arena where people can blackmail you, because if you record, right, everything we record, text messages, Snapchat, YouTube, anything, most people make it public, which is crazy, because now it's turning more into like, I don't care, I'm gonna put it out there. But people can like blackmail you and say, I own your, a hacker, for example, can say, I own this. And if you don't want me to air it, maybe not low level celebrities like us, but like to bigger politicians or to bigger, they could be like, hey, I have your information and I can just out it unless you do this. And that's what happens in Black Mirror, right? So I think
first one, right?
Too. Yeah. So.
Cindy only gives the first episode a shot and then that's it. I think she knows everything.
No, it's
I
really
haven't
good
even
series.
seen any of it. I had to like freaking spoiler it on YouTube because I didn't have time. I don't have time to watch TV, so I know you guys all like, oh, Cindy doesn't watch Netflix and stuff. Like, I don't.
To be honest, I don't have time to watch. Well, to focus and watch a new show either. When I went to Seattle for Halloween, I took those 2 days to watch one show, and that was like, dude, I haven't watched a new show in so long. It felt good to get like involved in a show like that. I was just like, oh my God, this is so good. But I don't have time like that either when I'm at home. Like when I'm at home, I'm either at work and stuck in traffic. So when I get home, I gotta walk Nala. I don't have time to really sit there and focus like on an hour-long episode. Like my attention span is not there anymore.
It's 15 minutes now.
I'm just like, what happened to 7-second clips on the internet,
So yeah, you guys, cybersecurity,
Good.
When the revolution comes,
we'll be ready.
But you guys should watch. You guys should watch this show called Midnight Mass. I've been telling you guys about it. Good show.
Midnight what?
Midnight Mass. My boy Monsignor Pruitt. It's a good show. It didn't get a lot of recognition because Midnight Mass, like mass as in going to church. No, it's called Midnight Mass.
But it's in mass as in massacre.
Cindy, you're never gonna have time to watch it. Jess, you should watch it. It's only one season, but
I know
7
you keep
episodes.
trying to like sell me on it, but Martin, I was trying to think of like something you showed me that I'm like, I don't know, Martin, I don't know.
I always recommend you shows and you watch them. This
like
is
what?
One of those shows. You got into How I Met Your Mother, New Girl. And
oh yeah.
I forgot what other shows you were into that you gave me credit for. That you're like, oh yeah.
The Office.
Maybe The Office, but I remember you would even say like, Martin usually gets me into some good shows every once in a while. I don't recommend shows all the time.
I feel like I said that about Cindy. I'm pretty sure it was Cindy.
Cindy
and
doesn't
you
watch
just put
TV.
your name.
Cindy doesn't watch TV, so
Cindy would be into this.
whatever. I'll just tell Cindy to tell you to recommend it.
Yeah. No, I'm gonna try to watch Black Mirror, and then I'm gonna try to watch Midnight Mass on Netflix.
No, but I still want to watch Black Mirror.
Me too.
Black Mirror's a bunch of seasons.
But they're short. They're short seasons.
Midnight Mass is one season, 7 episodes, an hour long each episode.
I don't know how people do it. I can't do that. But like
binging,
like if I have like a set of 10 hours, which I try, if I do, I try to do other things during that time. But like for Squid Game, it was worth it. And I'm gonna watch I only watched episode 5 till episode 5, but I got the gist.
Watch Midnight Mass. I haven't watched Squid Game. See, Midnight Mass didn't get a lot of recognition because Squid Games came out at the same time and everybody was talking about Squid Games, which I don't know. But I'm joking. I haven't seen it.
People have been recommending like different stuff. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, especially when they like, if they listen to our stuff or they're like, hey, you would maybe get something out of this. I'll do it. I'll do the research because I do it anyways. Like I put in time, and we're going to talk about the podcast, like whatever it is, I'm putting in that time, but it's just to sit there and watch something like,
if you guys want to have
like I'm driving and listening.
If you guys want to have an episode of Catholicism, watch Midnight Mass, and then let's talk about it. It's gonna get really heated,
Season 4.
really quick.
Season
But it's a good
4.
show.
Yeah,
It's a good
season
show.
4, Martin.
We should get more controversial in season 4. That's all I'm saying.
No, we are.
Yeah,
We're gonna talk about death. First
I was just gonna say
That's
the
not controversial. That's
opening
just
episode.
afraid of talking death.
No,
people don't accept it.
Most people are afraid of death.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's controversial though. It's still gonna happen regardless. It doesn't matter how you live your life. It's gonna happen. It happens to everyone.
No. What's controversial is the topic. Talking about it, someone's gonna be like, Cindy, you fucking heartless bitch. And it's like, no, that's not what I meant. That's why it's controversial.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I
And
don't
plus,
know.
it's a
I
chapter
think-
in Robert Greene's book that we're reading. We'll read a book, Martine. It's in there.
What's a book? What's a book? Pages. I have someone read it for me. It's called audiobooks.
Okay, let's just cut this. We could talk all day.
We're just bashing each other.
What's
Yeah.
up?
It turned
I'm
into
a
a
part of it.
barbecue sesh.
I'm a part of the meta world. You guys aren't. You guys are still flipping pages, burning down
Okay,
trees.
we're gonna cut it. Let's wrap this up.
Okay, so do you guys have
Okay.
any solutions? My solution is to find balance, like with everything. And I'm trying to model that to my daughter. So what that means is I don't want her to grow up always being stuck to her phone. A lot of parents will blame their kids for being addicted to their phones when it's like you allowed that behavior to happen. It's okay. The way that we can bring it back is by me saying, hey, from this time to this time, I'm putting my phone away. Let's put all electronics away, right? Or all devices, all the TV, computer, whatever. So finding balance is very important, but you have to model it. Don't be mad at your child or other people for being addicted to stuff that like you, what is it called? You enabled them to do in the first place. Okay. And then the second one is be careful what you upload. Maybe that's more of a millennial thing because I feel like the younger generation don't give a F. Which cool, right? Like you don't care. Like if, I mean, I don't know, that's just a different way to look at it where it's just like, you can make fun of me because I don't care about that. So it takes away the power if someone wants to blackmail you. You're just like, bro, I put worse shit out. Like that's not a secret. So anytime you put something out there, it's no longer ours, right? Like the cloud owns it or the whatever, I don't know what the name of the power control is, but you can get blackmailed with that, I think, and be careful.
Well said.
You're good.
No
I
solution?
don't have any solutions. Just stay woke. Stay woke, everyone. Just kidding.
That is so tired. I was gonna say, like, I don't really know if there is a solution necessarily. I just think just be more accepting of the times that are changing, especially those that are still in the older traditional way. Like, I think understanding that although tradition is okay because that's what we're used to, it's okay to adapt and change also. And even if you don't want to adapt and change, allow the person next to you to do it. Don't just judge so much. Like, understand there's advances to these things. The way we used to think things were done, things should have been done the old ways. And then there was always the newest product to get shit done faster. Just allow that to happen. It's just done in a way different world now. It's done in such a small device now, how to handle things sometimes. Like, yeah, you can't build a building, you know, off a phone, but you create the building on the phone and be like, look, this is what I want it to look like. You know, like, I just think being able to adapt, and even if you don't want to do it yourself, allow others to adapt and continue to change. Things are just going to change no matter how scared or afraid you are. Sometimes things are going to change for the good. So I think it's just being able to accept and allowing things to allowing yourself to understand that things aren't always going to be the same. Tradition is dying. And I don't mean that negatively. I just mean that more as things aren't getting done the same way they used to be. Like, just because something was done the way it used, like, this is how it always gets done. Like, we'll allow things to change it because now things are different. Things are getting done faster.
And
Things are getting done more efficiently and more eco-friendly and things like that. So it's just like, allow change, because it could be, there's good and bad to everything. You know,
Yeah.
So we were killing our planet, and now Mark Zuckerberg is saying we don't have to kill the planet so quickly anymore. We're allowing these changes to happen.
we can kill our own
Exactly.
body. Mhm.
Exactly. People are the ones that are ruining it. So
Yeah, the other part is like, when I first heard about this, I got really negative about it and like scared, which is, see, that's what I'm saying. That's fear-based, right? Like
because you're old, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm old. But the other thing is you can learn about it. You can read about it, watch videos, and then when you do, same thing as Martin was saying, be open to the other side. because I was like, I'm scared. So all I started to look at was like negative stuff around it.
Mhm.
And it, it's very important for you to do what are the positive things that can come from this? And there's a lot of people doing so much research on the behavioral aspect of this. So there's the good, and then we said, let's not say good and bad, right? There's just like a contrast. Anytime anything in humanity has developed, whether that was like the industrial era that caused so much, there's just so many times that this has happened, but this is so new to us that's why it's easier to be scared of it. Don't be scared of it. That's not a way that you adapt to it. It's normal to be scared of it, but the more you educate yourself on it, the more you prepare, the more you find ways to find balance with your family, with yourself, with your partner, I think you'll end up feeling better. Because that's what I started to do. I'm like, okay, I'm listening to a lot of the negative side. If I want to be a true presenter of this topic, I don't want to be one-sided. I'll present what I think, but I also want to say, hey, there's so many different versions of this information. It's so new. And when you hear something negative about anything, there's always something positive, and vice versa. So be a journalist, right? Like get all of it and then create your own opinion about it. But yeah, being scared is only going to bring you stress, and we don't want stress. So try to work on the fear of, when some of these things are changing. Like my mom, she's like, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want to learn about it, blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
but then look at her, like she knows more about Facebook than we do.
Exactly.
She knows how to add. So it's like, even if you don't want it, it's things that are like, you're going to end up realizing there's a lot of benefits to it. People are just, and it's a lot of more, and this is no disrespect to the older generations or anything, but older generations are okay with settling and understanding like, well, this is how it's been done. This is how it needs to go. Like now we're understanding a little bit more with the newer generations. This is why I'm super like, I don't talk shit about the younger generations. I don't talk shit about mine. I don't talk shit about the Generation Z or whatever it's on now. If anything, I'm more like, look at how they're changing things, and they're allowing people like my mom, who used to be more of, although she still may have some of her traditional settings still in her mind, because that's how she grew up, she's allowing herself to change little by little. And now she knows how to handle, I'll ask, I don't get on Facebook, but I'll ask her if I wanted, like, how did you send that? How did you send this type of, how did you search that? How did you upload this? Or like, she'll show me stuff.
She's really into South Korean
culture,
and they have different advancements in technology. So I'm like, Mom, more, like literally that's where we're headed, that like what they're putting on their shows. She's like, yeah, but and so there's that part. And then, I wanted to say something real quick. So in China, they're monitoring big time, like social media use and like information. And they only allow people to participate during certain times of the day on social media, because they don't want what's happening to Americans. I heard this on the podcast, Joe Rogan, check it out. Like this has nothing to, like, I may be wrong. But I just thought it was interesting how their government is like, nah, we don't want to do what you guys are doing. And they're like a big force, right? Like China's a huge influence. So there's just that too, right? It's cool to learn like, whoa, why aren't other countries, or they're building balance in their, it's very controlled, I guess you can look at it that way. But at the same time, it's like, we don't want our kids to be sucked into this media world. We want them to have a healthy balance with it. I don't know the gist of it. I don't know the details. I just saw that information and I was like, now I want to do more information on like, why don't they want to be like Americans? Because that's where we are, it's like, what is their take on all of this? So yeah, be open, be receptive to everything, and respect, right? Respect is always, whether you agree with someone or not, respect is going to get you a long way. Yay.
Well said, guys. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Martine, for coming on.
Yeah,
I think we figured it out again. We figured out the solution to the world problems again.
Yeah.
Every time.
You're welcome. Just kidding. No, but yeah, thanks, Martine, for coming on. We really appreciate it. Next episode will be our last, or will it? So you guys just throw that in there just in case. For legal purpose. We don't want to get sued by our sponsors.
Yeah. Ooh, Leti and Matia Gloria.
All right, you're cut.
They listen in.
You're canceled.
No. Yeah, let us know what you guys think of all of this. Like we said, I really want to talk about this later in life, because I know it's going to start developing. And so I want to talk about this later. So this is like, you know, I can't wait to look back at this episode and be like, oh my God, what we thought we knew. So let us know what you guys think. If you have any other like cool information that you found on like metaverse or like where things are going, or other people competing with the metaverse situation. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Laters.